Hey everybody, back again with another one. Brad Linder here hanging out with you, just in case you didn't know that. And we're going to be sketching up, as you can see, the Scarlet Spider. Bear with me just a moment while I put this on the page for everybody so everybody can see it and whatnot, and we can knock this out. So, have that going on. Ding! There we go. Cool deal. All right. Damien, Brian, thanks for hanging out. Guys, I appreciate it. I'm on late tonight because of the fact that I just wanted to come on this evening after getting everything ready for tomorrow. You know how it is with the family thing, and it being Turkey Day tomorrow here in the States for all us good old U.S. citizens. So we had to get ready for that, and happy Thanksgiving to everybody that is watching this that won't be around tomorrow. I will be doing a card at some point, but I haven't decided what I'm going to do yet. But I wanted to do this one today. Really, really, really cool, and a little bit higher detail because of the fact that when I normally do these, I don't get to dig into the the mini details like this with it being microscopic on this card. I wanted to do something that was a little more aggressive and a little more high end for you guys. So I know this one's going to have a lot more detail than my standard stuff. And I just wanted to do something that was really cool and fun. And hopefully I don't screw it up too bad because I'm very, very tired today. I've been working on knocking out a bunch of comic scripts and artwork and all this cool stuff for the end of the year. And after the holiday, man, between now and Christmas, I've got it nailed down, and I'm going to be putting out a ton of stuff. And literally, it's going to be heavy. I've had to work out quite a bit. So, sorry. But anyway, all joking aside, yeah, I've been hammering it out like crazy lately. It's just been wild. I've been doing back-to-back books and knocking stuff out for the new year so that everybody can get that going on and see what material the old Firestorm Comics has coming, and some other freelance stuff that I've been working on with friends and sideline projects and stuff. And I know they're chawing at the bit because I put everything back burner to knock out the marketing stuff and get that going too. And man, that's got some big stuff coming down the line too. I got some fun stuff for you, including that comic art course that I put together per request of some of my fans and followers. And I appreciate that you guys following up with me every day and hanging out and spending time with me and whatnot. I'm very thankful this year for that. So, because we've been doing this, oh my goodness, almost 7 months now. Not quite yet, but almost. We've been hanging out together every day. So, pretty intense stuff. Pretty intense. Now, I went with the classic Spider-Man clone suit rather than the more modern red and blue custom hoodie that he's got going on now. And I didn't like the Kane version, so the black and the red. I wasn't a fan of that one. I've always enjoyed the character, but I didn't think that Kane should have ever been the Scarlet Spider at any point. I just don't think that was cool for them to kill Riley off and then find out that they were going to resurrect him. Of course, with modern comics, just as well as soap operas over the years, comic characters don't stay dead. They can come back up, and for the next 3 issues, you have dun dun dun. So that's pretty much the way it works out right now. Is they decide, well, we're going to bring him back, so that's what we're going to do. We're going to bring him back. Okay, cool deal. And then, some writer says they're going to bring him back. Some editor says, okay, cool. We need a slot filled on this comic book, so why not? And that's what they end up doing. Throwing a monkey wrench in the works, but especially at Marvel. No offense to any of the guys over there. I have nothing ill-willed against you guys at all, but let's be plain and simple and honest about it. I have not held back or held my tongue on that I am not happy with the current state of Marvel Comics. Love the films, not so much in the books, but speaking of films, as a side note, I went to see Justice League today, finally. And I tell you what, no spoilers, no weirdness like that. I'm not going to ruin it for anybody. If you haven't seen it, cool deal. No worries. But, man, I got to say, this is my absolute new favorite comic book movie. I really love the way they did this. And it reminds me of the old Justice League comic books and the old Super Friends stuff back from when I was a kid. That's the kind of, I don't know, that kind of, well, let's say dynamic, for a lack of a better word. It's very, very well grounded, and I enjoyed it. The critics have been crushing it, saying, they hate it. And I don't know. I like it. I liked it. I enjoyed it. It's a long movie, but it was great for what it was. I have no complaints about it at all. I think that they actually did a great job on it. And even though, unfortunately, as we all know from the trailers and commercials, I'm not going to spoil it for anybody, the major iconic source of the problem in the movie is a couple of cubes. That's pretty much the same thing that they did with Captain America, for Marvel. And that's a little disappointing that they didn't find another way to do that. But the mother boxes were always that way. They were always cubed boxes. That's the way they originally were designed. And that's pretty much the one down point that is reminiscent of what Marvel does in their films. But Josh Whedon's associated, so you got to give credit where it's due, and you got to understand that some of this stuff is going to be similar because he wrote the Avengers, so or directed them at least, and I think he scripted most of that too. But I'm not going to say that officially because I'm not sure if he scripted all of that as well or not. But I know he was in the director's chair and all that. So, but the Justice League has a really good balance to it, and it's fast-paced like DC Comics. It's in your face. It's not too heavy with the setup. It's very fast-paced. A lot of people don't like that because they felt that it didn't have enough setup, but I really enjoy it. That's the way DC Comics always were to me. They just jumped right into the story, and you had to catch out who was what as you went along, and that's what I loved about it. But back to the character here at hand, this has always been a sore spot for me because I'm not claiming that I created the character by any means, but if you go on my DeviantArt under Charged Graphite at deviantart.com, you can find me on there. And if you look at my old stuff, I submitted in 91 and then resubmitted back in 93. And I submitted a Clone Saga story that was supposed to be 4 parts. And I always find it ironic, because my family and friends that know about it, they talk to me about it all the time. And it's like, man, you should sue. I'm like, well, Fabian and a couple of the other people that were in the hot seat back then were notoriously known for taking other people's submissions out of the drawers and stuff coming up similar to them. And if you look in there, there's my Spider-Man design where I had the Jackal bring back a cloned Spider-Man. So, the return of the original cloned Spider-Man. But then the next year, this guy shows up in the comic books, and we have the 2-year-long Clone Saga, which I had nothing to do with. And even to the point of Aunt May passing away. I had mention of that in the storyline as well. And that was a tough spot for me, man. I didn't fight it because of the fact that, you know, the Marvel machine has millions of dollars to fight, especially back then. And they told me I could take it to court if I wanted to, but they weren't going to retract it and they weren't going to give me credit, and that it was an unsolicited property, and that it wasn't going to be, you know, compensated. That I shouldn't have solicited unsolicited work to them. So, you know, I had a big problem with that. And like I said, I'm not saying they stole my stuff. I'm not saying anything like that. I'm just saying it's coincidental that, you know, I sent in a Spider-Man clone story and I put in that particular design, and then all of a sudden the artwork came out and it was really, really close to the Spider-Man, the Ben Reilly Spider-Man suit. And I was not happy with that. I was not happy with that at all. But like I said, I'm not one of these guys that's going to go around, you know, with the foil hat on and say, you know, Marvel robbed me blind. There's only so many ideas in the world, and I just think it was coincidence. I've always taken it as that. But I did have a sore spot for a little while on this one because, you know, I went in and I was like, man, that's really close to what I wrote and what I said. And then they ran it for 3 years, and I was just like, no, I have nothing to do with that. So, you know, I just moved on from it. But I tell you, man, that's one of those things. I'm very cautious now about what I submit, and that's something you guys should be aware of too. If you're going to submit your work to any major publisher, make sure you put an NDA in place. Make sure you get an NDA with that editor, or make sure you have it copyrighted right off the bat, because if you don't, you're subject to get ripped off by whatever terms of service they have. And that was the reason why in '95 they put in, because I made such a big deal about it, they put in a clause for the Marvel waiver. And I'm one of the reasons why they did that, because of the fact that I complained so badly to their corporate office for running that book and comparing notes to my stuff versus theirs. And, you know, that was a scary time. I mean, I don't claim that, like I said, I don't claim to be the creator of Ben or anything crazy like that. I just put in a clone story, and in mine, his name was David. And that was one of the big things I had a problem with. But, yeah, it's just crazy stuff, man. But, you know, creators get problems like that all the time. And I'm very cautious about what I do with my copywriting and my imprint stuff, because I want to make sure everything goes through the proper paperwork. And that's the reason I double and triple protect all of my artwork and all of my creations and all that good stuff for Firestorm, because of the fact that I don't want some knucklehead coming along trying to say, you know, they created this or that and the other, and they didn't. And I highly protect myself in that regard. So hard lesson learned, but nonetheless, it was a lesson learned, and it was a try of patience too, because of the fact that, you know, that went down. But anyway, there's a coincidental story for you to think about. If you're putting in your original work for Marvel or DC, think about that very carefully about putting in work that you copyright, because I mean, they say you can't submit anything that's been published prior, and that's because they don't want to deal with published work. And I put in an original script, and it bit me in the butt. So be sure that you protect yourself in that regard. That's the lesson to be learned there, and that's why I brought it up. Because normally I don't like talking about it, because then people say, yeah, right, you're like that guy that's chasing down Fabian for Deadpool, you know, the guy that claims he created Deadpool and stuff, and he draws like a 7-year-old. Well, during that time, there was a reason why Fabian's not there anymore, and a couple of those other executives, because of the fact that there was some weird stuff going on, man. Some books were coming out, and submissions were starting to look like that, but yet Marvel's never successfully accepted a submission. Go figure. I mean, I'm not trying to start a conspiracy theory or, you know, a Marvel bash session or anything crazy like that. I'm just saying it's coincidental that, you know, I'm not the only one that's happened to. But it's strange. It's strange. But all I say from it is not that Marvel did me wrong or anything like that. What I'm saying is be very cautious about where you submit stuff and be careful that you cover your butt. You know, that's the thing to take away from that. Because I was a young kid back in '91 and I didn't know anything. Um, I was working freelance at the time for various small press, and they asked me to submit something. Then I submitted it, and then lo and behold, they sent me a rejection letter saying they didn't want to use it because it was too close to what they had at the time, and thanked me for my work. And then yes to this a year later. So go figure. Maybe it is, maybe it isn't. I don't know. I'm a lot older now, and I know stuff like that happens, and I know how to cover my butt with this stuff. And I know I would never submit again in that way because of the fact. But if you're looking at it and you're here on this, make sure you heed my warning and be sure to put stuff out, with protection. Send it out before you send out your samples, mail a copy to yourself, postmark it prior to the copy that you send out. And that's called a poor man's copyright, because what will end up happening is that postmarked envelope, as long as you keep it sealed with the original content in there, it's dated and marked by the post office. So it's officially recognized by the U.S. government. That's how that works out. So be very cautious of that. However, that still won't protect it may or may not protect an original copyrighted piece, an original production piece in your company. So be very cautious about that as well. Always file the copyright claim and all that good stuff with the government, because it's less than $50. I mean, you can't beat that. It takes a little bit for them to send it back to you, but be sure and get your copyright handled, because I know I did for Catman Evolution and all my other characters before they come out. I get that form filed, and that way nobody can come back and bite me for books, or for properties. And they can't take your original form anyway, but what they can take is they can prevent you from using the material if they copyright it. So be very cautious about that. They can't take your original creation, but they can keep you from using the name or, the likeness or whatever. So be very careful. So just think about that one. Just think about that one. I get all that stuff checked out and filed with the U.S. government. That way I don't ever get bit by that. And I highly recommend that you do the same. Because if you don't, you'll get a situation like this, and you'll be talking about your posting on your DeviantArt, and Marvel's getting paid for it. So, just saying. I tell that story as a warning, as a heed to the process, not to raise business with them, because I could care less. I did at the time, and my attorney said we could fight it if you want to, but they're going to bring out the big guns. They are Marvel. And I was like, well, how much did they pay you to say that? But of course, which they didn't. But he was just trying to tell me, if you want to fight this, we will. It's just going to cost you a lot of money. And I just let it go, and I learned my lesson. But, you hear horror stories like that all the time, but yet, it was strange how many submissions disappeared when select people were there. Not saying any names any further than that, but just be cautious if you submit to those companies. Make sure you have your ducks in a row and everything covered, because it could end up biting you in the butt. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying. Let's see here. I'm having fun with this, by the way. Very cool stuff. And like I said, I'm not, I'm not sore about it, but business learned. That was a big lesson for me for copyright information, because I tell you what, after that happened, I was like, I copyright everything from now on. The thing is, though, once you copyright it, by the way, you can't submit it to another company because they don't accept previously copyrighted or published material, because then they can't own it. And when you're hired for freelance, that's a big deal. You know what I mean? So they own whatever you produce anyway as a freelancer. But what they don't tell you is that, you're creating all that stuff for them, and they don't tell you that, and they don't give you credit. If they give you credit on it, that's a courtesy from the company. That's not something they have to do. They do that because the fan base recognizes that artist's work. But if you want to get into comics to be a famous creator, create your own books. Don't create stuff for everybody else, because that's where it'll bite you. But anyway, enough about that. So on to Turkey Day tomorrow. I am going to be doing a card tomorrow, but I don't know what I'm going to do. So what do you guys want to see? Put it in the comments and let me know what you guys want to see so that we can do that, because I think that's a big deal. It's a must-have. So I want to be able to do the book and write that down so we have a listing of what card we're going to do for Turkey Day 2017. Because after that, it's over. It's over. 2017 is over. We'll be heading into Christmas, and that's going to be awesome, as always. I'm a big kid when it comes to the holidays. But like I said the other day, I'm more of a focused on giving type of person rather than getting. But getting is always fun. I mean, granted, I'm just as human as anybody else. I like to do that. Like it. And I just realized something. I have these, I have the web shooters out on the outside of this one, but I did not draw it on that hand. So I have to go in and correct that real quick, because I like the web shooters, instead of the bracelets or whatever he wears, I like to have the later web shooters on the outside. I like to put the web shooters. Now I'll come in here, and I know they're even, but I'll come in here and put that backdrop on there so we can get that going. And Ben's web is silky and white rather than more threaded like Peter's. It's more just a silk thread rather than going in with the traditional webbing, especially the McFarlane style. When it spins out, it does come out in multiple threads, but it normally comes out as a long white silky rope, and it just frays out like this, like ribbons, instead of like Peter's, which is more like a webbing that like a braided rope kind of thing. There is a difference. So if you draw this character, be sure and watch out for that. The new one, now that they've rebooted the series, the Ben Reilly Scarlet Spider sub-series, whenever that came out, he's got the new costume, and that one has the classic McFarlane style spider webbing, and I thought that was really cool. But I like to go with the classic webbing that he had with this costume, so I'm keeping it very neat and clean in regard to the basic silk ribbons rather than the Spider-Man typical type of braided or twisted type of rope or, you know, binding type of situation. So anyway, now what I'm going to go over here and do is I'm going to put in this brickwork right here. I got some tiny little bricks here, which we'll be able to see. Okay, got that back there. I'm going to pop in this moon right here. String that over so it'll match up. Go over just a bit. And I wanted it to be thin in spots, so that's why I left that one right there open. But what we're doing is we're going to do a typical large let's see, a harvest moon type of moonshot, where it looks way bigger than it should. There we go. Kind of put that back there like that. And there we have it. We have the Scarlet Spider. And I put the smooth cut hoodie on him rather than messing with the torn sleeves that were on this one. I went with that original upgrade, you know, to that extra little step where he had the smooth sleeves. And the funny thing is the second generation of the suit where he cleaned the sleeves off, the shredded part is where the arc went into him thinking that he was Peter Parker instead of being Ben Reilly. He was Peter Parker. He was thinking he was the real Peter Parker as the real Spider-Man. That storyline was jacked up. It went on way too long. And then out of that, we got Carnage and a couple of the other major character players. You know, there was a lot going on in that saga. Which I had no idea that Carnage was coming because I didn't write about that. Like I said, I wrote a small story arc about it, about being the clone coming back and being the problem, not anybody else. That thing ran on for a while. And the funny thing is Ben got killed in the original storyline. In the Clone Saga, Ben got killed, and the Jackal got away. The guy that originally cloned him and brought it back way back in the day when he came out, when he originally appeared. So you guys can do the details on that one and do the math on that one and see where it goes for you. But yeah, I found that very funny. Because he ends up getting killed saving Peter. And I mean, I'm sure everybody knows the original Scarlet Spider story. If you don't, sorry, that's a spoiler. I apologize. But I mean, it is what it is for that one. But anyway, we have the Scarlet Spider. There you go. I hope you guys dig it. We are right at the typical 30-minute mark. If you're wondering why I just put a dot on my hand, I do that to clean the tip and get any lint from the paper off the pen. And I do that habitually. I've done that for a long time. I used to do that with my nibs too. By the end of the day, when I'm inking stuff, I'll have like 30 dots up and down my finger because I dab my pen like that. And I know I shouldn't because this pen doesn't do that. You know, you don't have to with a felt tip like this. With these, well, not necessarily a felt tip, it's a fiber nib, but I do this quite often out of habit. I touch my fingers with the pinpoint. Because on some of these pages, you know, some of these materials, cards and stuff like this, especially these cards, because they're kind of fuzzy after a while when you muck with them too much, and they get lint on them where the fibers come up, and they will build up on the tip of the pen, but not these. Under normal circumstances and normal wear and tear and use, they don't do that. I'm just kind of inking this one out real quick because it's pretty easy. Nothing real heavy here. Nothing real heavy. And with this being a sketch card, I don't have to worry about that. So, you know, because it doesn't have to be perfect. I mean, I want every piece to look good, but it doesn't have to be like $1 million piece. And not to mention the fact that I knock these things out really fast. People ask me all the time why I'm still going on with these cards for so long now. And it's because of the fact that, you know, I've gotten into the habit of doing them. I really like it. And as long as you guys keep coming and keep telling me that you're enjoying them, we'll keep them coming. That's the whole point. So we'll see how it goes. After the first year, you may tell me to shut up and go away. Stop it. We're tired of your dadgum cards. I just added Watchmen to the list. So that's going to be a fun one. I moved them up from the latter part of the list when I redid it. I wanted to add them on because everybody keeps asking me to do Rorschach. So please do the Many Faces of Rorschach. And I've decided to put them on for next week after the holiday. And I think I'm going to start drawing these, drawing some more full body poses because everybody keeps asking me to. And I've been holding off because of the fact that these cards are so small. But now I think I found a zone and a style for formatting them that I like. And I think I can start knocking them out that way, so these will be a lot more exciting now. Because drawing them so small, you know, they have to be proportionate like this, and they have to be dynamic, and they have to reach a certain point. But we may be able to get more action poses out of them like this. like I did with Nightcrawler and a few others in the beginning, I think we'll be able to get a little bit of a mid shot and get some more cool effects into them. A little bit better reach, as it were. So we can go that route. There we go. Put the tip on that finger. I gave him an extremely long pinky for what that is, for what that should, for what that should be. Kind of trim out that finger a little with these sidelines so that it shows up a little bit different. Yeah, that's cool. It's coming out all right. Okay. Now, obviously, I'm going to be inking this a lot faster than I was penciling it because of the fact that it is practically all done. You know, all the hard work is done. A lot of people don't understand that, and it's just that, you know, all the thinking and all the processing has been done once the layout's down. A lot of people would say that about the penciling that I do, you know, because I lay out the entire picture before, and then we don't have to worry about that. Now, you may notice this looks a little funky right here. And the reason I do these shapes a little funky like that is because I have them going off of the folds in the hoodie. I wanted it to look kind of jacked up because he's in motion. And the suit's not going to sit still. So he only has 8 legs on here. And it's the 2 segments barbed spider that we have going on here. For those that want to know. But all these major folds come in and jack it all up, so that's the reason it's moving like that. Because it has to bend and crease and fold and wave in the wind and all that. And I bumped the line right over that leg right there, but that's okay because you just go in with a thicker line and clean that right up. Now, I'm going to go right up over here, clean that, come back down and around, thicken it up just a little bit, show the weight on the legs anyway because it's in the foreground. I don't normally ink these things. This is a 0.5. I don't normally ink these like this. I use this for the fine work like you should, and then going with a Sharpie or a Prismacolor or a Copic and line out the rest of it and get those big blacks. Granted, I want to be clear, I don't use Sharpie on my actual comic pages. I use Copics or one of the others. I'll use a Sharpie on these with no problem. Because being a sketch card, it has a little more leniency. Okay. Gonna get this knocked out real quick. Okay, what do I have here? Got almost all of them. Almost. Gonna go ahead and knock out the swimming right here, and then we'll call it a day because I don't want to keep you guys on too long, and I don't want this to run on for, you know, hours or anything weird like that. So okay, making sure where I want to put that. Right here, here, and here. Okay. Now, yeah, I think I'm going to call that a day. I know I inked part of this. I'll finish it up and post it. But we can go from there. We've got a lot of it done. And it's a really cool background. I'm very pleased with this one. I like it. I like it. I like it. So I hope you guys, if I don't talk to you tomorrow because you aren't able to tune in or whatever, whenever I get the card going, happy Thanksgiving to you and to your family. I hope you have a great time. I hope everybody has fun. And I will see you guys after, sometime during the weekend when you come back on. If not, I'll catch you next week. And as for the regular card goers, if you guys want to keep hanging out and see what I'm going to draw tomorrow, that's awesome. I will be around sometime tomorrow. I'm not sure exactly what time I will be on. I will post it a couple hours ahead of time, hopefully, and let you guys know. But until then, I'm going to call it a day. Otherwise, I'm going to sit here and do this whole thing, which I'm probably going to end up doing right after this anyway. But I'm going to call that done for the moment, and I will catch you guys tomorrow, next time, next session. Thank you. Say hi, smile, hug somebody, be nice, wave, shake a hand, reach up and shake an ear, whatever makes you laugh and feel good about it. So anyway, talk to you guys tomorrow. Be good.